Hello, my name is Prior Chad, and I'm the vicar at St. Augustine's Episcopal Parish in Tempe, Arizona. And this video introduction is intended to provide some context for you for a sermon that I gave on September 13th, 2015. The first bit of context has to do with our church's adult formation class, where we've been discussing diversity and unity in the church. And we've been watching some interviews with author Christina Cleveland, who talks about these issues. Last week in particular, we were focused on Jesus' call to come and die. And I used our experience of the discussion last week to frame my reflections upon today's gospel reading from Mark chapter 8, where we hear Jesus' most explicit call to come and die. Also included in the context for this sermon are the reading from Proverbs, and instead of a psalm, we used a canticle provided from the Wisdom of Solomon. We also had a reading from the Epistle of James in chapter 3, where he discusses the power of the tongue in human life. So all these things come together in my discussion of what can contribute to a transformed life. What is it that comes after Jesus' call to come and die? A new life, the new life of Jesus' resurrection, lived out in our community. I hope the sermon gives you a chance to reflect upon these things, upon how it is that your community is called to come and die, and what it is that you are hoping God will bring forth as new life in your midst. Blessings upon you. Let no evil talk come out of my mouth, but only what is useful for building up as there is need, so that my words may give grace to those who hear. In the name of the one holy and undivided Trinity. Amen. Last week during adult formation, which happens between the two services, the second brief video in our series about diversity and unity in the church provoked a heartfelt discussion around the topic of death. We watched an interview with author Christina Cleveland, who put forward a view that the cross is the epicenter of Christian unity, not because it elicits common feelings of comfort and joy, but because to those who would follow in the footsteps of Jesus, the cross is a call to come and die. In our time together, we discussed what that call to come and die might mean for us, individually and as a community. Is it best to consider this call in terms of a physical death, like Jesus died, or in some other psycho-spiritual or social terms? Those present, open to share their fears and experiences of various kinds of death. And we ended with our thoughts about what might need to die in us here at St. Augustine's, so that we can better experience unity as a church. In our gospel this morning, we hear Jesus issue his most explicit call to come and die, when he says, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." The reason Jesus gives for issuing this call is that those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for Jesus' sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. In other words, Jesus teaches that regardless of how tightly you grip your life, it will slip from your grasp. So why not let go now and entrust your life to God's keeping? This teaching comes directly on the heels of Jesus' interaction with Peter, where we see that God's way of doing things is a far cry from business as usual among human beings. For where Peter thinks that by naming Jesus as the Messiah, as God's anointed king, he is predicting that an overwhelming display of God's power will crush the Roman Empire and establish God's kingdom on Mount Zion for all the world to see and flock to. Jesus teaches about a Messiah who must undergo suffering and death before being raised to life again as the great display of God's power. Jesus' call to come and die is a call to a path that leads through suffering and death to resurrection and new life. And it's a path we all must walk if we desire to follow in the way of Jesus. But it's a difficult path. It entails great loss before it entails great gain. Most people will not, therefore, choose to walk it. Yet, if we refuse this path, we are like Peter, refusing the wisdom of divine things in favor of human things. Our lesson from Proverbs paints for us a picture of a personified wisdom calling out in the streets, offering counsel and knowledge, but who is refused by everyone who passes by. No one will stop their usual way of doing things and listen to wisdom's reproof of the status quo. We hear wisdom lamenting that people would have none of my counsel and despise my reproof. Therefore, they shall eat the fruit of their way and be sated with their own devices. This fruit is the outcome of human things, the things on which Peter had set his mind and about which Jesus rebuked him. It is the end of a path that leads us, kicking and screaming, to an inevitable death. It is not the path that Jesus describes, of willingly taking up one's cross, a path that leads through death, through the death of the status quo, through the death of human things, through the death of business as usual within ourselves. To heed the counsel of wisdom is to take up our cross and follow Jesus in his call to come and die. As we've discussed in weeks past, however, Jesus' call sounds different to different people because the status quo does not affect everyone in exactly the same way. Our crosses do not all look the same. That said, all crosses do share certain qualities, and some things in everyone must die if we want to follow in the way of Jesus. The letter from James offers a colorful word this morning when it comes to the universal human condition. Listen again. How great a forest is set ablaze by a small fire, and the tongue is a fire. The tongue is placed among our members as a world of iniquity. It stains the whole body, sets on fire the cycle of nature, and is itself set on fire by hell. For every species of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by the human species. But no one can tame the tongue, a restless evil, full of deadly poison. That doesn't really pull any punches, does it? Giving the author some rhetorical and poetic license to make wide use of hyperbole, I wonder if these words might be teaching us about something that needs to die in every human being. What is this power in human speech Citizens United Supreme Court ruling, the very fact that our legal system in the United States considers the giving of money to political candidates to be a kind of protected speech serves as a somewhat twisted example of the tongue's power to exert self-interested control over the hearts and minds of those who hear. As it says in James, the tongue is a small member of the body, yet it boasts of great exploits. With these relationships between speech, power, money, and control in mind, I think we can name something in every human being that must die if we are to follow in Jesus' way. No matter where you find yourself, no matter where you come from, no matter the extent to which you benefit from business as usual, the belief that we are the masters of our fate, that our life is in our hands, must die in each of us. If it does not, if we do not release our grip on power and control before we die, it will be pried from our hands against our will. But if this belief dies before we do, if we take up our cross and follow Jesus through the death of our false self, we will find that the power of God that raised Jesus from the dead will be waiting there to give us new life as well. So how do we do it? How do we release our grip on power and control while we're still alive? How do we come and die in order that we might truly live? Essential technique for dying to the false self is the ancient practice of joyfully giving to God a sacrificial portion of that which rightfully belongs to us. And this is not giving what's left over after we've met all of our needs and prior obligations. This is the practice of setting aside the first fruits of our life and labor for God's use. It's the tangible acknowledgement that everything we have is a gift to us from God. And this practice isn't all about money. It's also about our time and our abilities and our relationships with each other. But it is about money. Make no mistake. We will be unable to release our grip on power and control while we are still alive. We will be unable to take up our cross and follow Jesus on the path through death to resurrection if we are unable to release our grip on our money. And this spiritual practice of joyful and sacrificial giving isn't only for the rich, as we learned last week, from the generosity of the poor churches in our diocese and from the Choctaw Nation. Practice does its transformative work in every soul who will take it up. When we ended our discussion in adult formation last week with our thoughts about what might need to die for the sake of unity in our church, the theme of our isolation from each other rose to the surface. People offered some good ideas for engaging our neighbors and gathering in homes. And I'd like to add one more idea to theirs. I wondered if a felt sense of our common sacrifice on behalf of God's creative work in this church might offer a remedy for our feelings of isolation. If I can look beside me and see my sisters and brothers taking up their crosses in the same way that I am taking up mine, I can know that we are partners in trusting God through whatever may come. first fruits of my labor, without a sense that others are doing the same, my experience of our unity is greatly diminished. Furthermore, a sense of shared sacrifice imbues us with a feeling of common investment in our pilgrimage together, which we will need if we hope to reach our destination. Let us, therefore, die to our culture of isolation here at St. A's that keeps us fixed in the illusion that we are the independent masters of our own fates. And let us take up our crosses, side by side, to follow Jesus on the path that leads us through the death of our false self to the new life of resurrection that God will bring about in